Hello guys, so I'm after having a major Zoom catastrophe. So for whatever reason, when I set it up again, I went straight into this and just did the recording. And unfortunately, I hadn't configured it in the background from the last webinar that you automatically came in. So you guys should have all got an invite and you could just log in when you want. So when I was seeing the people logging in the bottom, I just started the presentation up, and unfortunately, you guys weren't here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to redo it again. So it was 45 minutes. I'll redo it again. Hopefully, I was as funny the second time around than I was the first time around. And then what we'll do is I will take all the people that signed up in the last webinar, and I'll put it into an email and send it all to you guys today. So let's get cracking into it again for the second time. And we're on recording. We are share, play. Okay, so today's topic is going to be on the ISO circuit when it comes to conditioning for the MMA athlete. Now, over the last number of years, I've had the pleasure of making a lot of mistakes with athletes and finding out different ways of doing things. And in particular, low steady state aerobic exercise can be very beneficial if that movement is specific to your sport. Cycling for triathlon, swimming, and so on, and running. But when it comes to MMA, it's very important that we as strength and conditioning coaches, that we prescribe exercises for an adaptation that will have performance enhancement rather than just general fitness improvement. We want specificity with adaptation for our athletes that has a direct transfer or as close to a direct transfer into the particular sport themselves. Now, so this program was inspired by a coach in America called Cal Dietz. Definitely someone you should look up. He's a very educated and knowledgeable guy. And what he talks about is that there's different stress in the body: eccentric, isometric, and concentric. He called it his triphasic training method. And what I found with training MMA guys in particular is that a lot of guys will focus just on concentric dominant movements, and they'll do a lot of movements to get people better in the gym, but is it crossing over into the actual sport itself? Powerlifters, bodybuilders, crossfitters, Olympic lifters, I see improvement in the gym, have a direct improvement in performance, but that doesn't hold the same way when it comes to the MMA athlete. And if anything, an MMA athlete will have restrictions when it comes to time. They have a lot of time to do in Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu or wrestling or boxing, whatever it may be, and their ability to overcome volume can be compromised. And as an S&C coach, it's fundamental for us to be able to monitor and manage the volume in relation to overtraining, peaking of performance, resting, deloading, assessing all this sort of stuff. And by using a program like this, we get a lot of different benefits from it. So let's actually go through what the actual theory is behind this program. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to do isometric conditioning in order to improve the muscular system's ability to buffer lactate, to bring nutrients to the muscle fibers and away from the muscle fibers. So ultimately, we will be conditioning slow twitch muscle fibers and some fast twitch muscle fibers. But we're doing this so the network, the capillary, the organization, the environment of that muscle has the ability to get lactic acid away from it, to get nutrients to the muscle, to allow those fast twitch muscle fibers to recover so they can do their peak performance multiple times. So by doing something like this, we're improving the metabolic efficiency of the muscular system to handle a lot of lactate in a reduced, or what we call a hypoxic environment, because by the isometric contraction, we don't stop, but we inhibit optimal blood flow to and from the muscle. Then the fatigue and the fatigue of the muscle cause a lot of cardiovascular demand, increases cardiovascular fitness specific to the muscle, specific to the contraction type, with a direct crossover for our plan, hopefully a direct crossover into the sport itself. Now, inside the muscle, we have carnosine, which is a buffer of lactate, and it's very hard to get increases in there. We can take beta-alanine, which can be shown to be very effective if you don't mind the tingles, but also by doing isometric work like this, we improve our body's innate carnosine storage. We also improve the glycogen replenishment into those tissues, and we improve the vascularity, capillarization, and the density of those fibers to be able to do their job with undue fatigue, and thereby the associated fast twitch fibers can hopefully recover from it. Now, with this form of training as a coach, when we understand the parameters, we can change these very easily. So by modulating this program, periodizing it, changing it, or personalizing it, it's very simple. But when it comes to on the bike for hours or on the road for hours, there's a lot of wear and tear in the body. And again, we don't have the small changes that we can do that have such a massive improvement in this program. So I'll show you a few subtle changes that you can do, but hopefully my goal is to show you guys the structure, the science behind it, and then you can go and adapt it and modify it to suit your clientele. I had the benefit of working with Charles Poliquin for years, and I traveled the world writing programs with him and teaching coaches how to do the programs. But one of my pet hates was guys would take the program out and then implement it into their practice, where that's not what Charles wanted. When you write a program, you're trying to give people the understanding of how to design a structured exercise prescription, and then take those understandings, take the principles of training, take the variables, and then adapt them in a program specific to your clientele, for your goal, for your outcome, for your desired adaptation in the facilities you have. So take in consideration that this will be a program that I've put together, inspired by a multitude of people that I've learned from, but take it, understand it, and then implement it to suit your clients in the way that gets them the results that they're looking for. But our ultimate goal is to do isometric work to improve the ability of that muscle to handle lactate, the buffer lactate, to store more glycogen, improve the capillary network, and then have the secondary benefit of allowing those fast twitching muscle fibers to recover better, and also a cardiovascular demand on the body, which is going to help us when it comes to our fitness and recovery and performance. So the program, I've explained this before, but it's called the peripheral heart activation. And peripheral heart activation is where we sequence the exercise selection in a way to put an increased stress in the heart, because it's redirecting the blood flow. So we do the lower part of the body. Let's say we do the inferior anterior, which is the quads. Then we come to the upper part of the body, which is the superior posterior. We might do some chins. Then we might go back down to the lower body, inferior again. We might go posterior for the hamstrings. Then we move up to the upper body and we'll do the superior anterior with the chest press or a dumbbell press or so on. And the goal is to change that muscle orientation and the volume flow of blood, so the heart and lungs have to increase their amount of work to redistribute the blood flow to the actual target muscle mass. And that's what peripheral heart activation is. It's a sequencing of exercise to elicit a higher demand on the cardiovascular system to redirect the blood flow of the body to the working muscles, and changing where they are, upper body, lower body, front to back, to put an increased demand on the cardiovascular system. It works very well, and there's a lot of programs out there about it, but this is the style that I've done this program in. So this was covered in the short video, so I'll go through this relatively fast, and then we'll go to the other permutations and periodization models. So here we have 4 exercises in a row, A, B, C, D. And when you write a program like that, for you guys to know that, you do all the number of sets there before you move on. We're only doing 1 set anyway. So we're doing a seated dumbbell press. We're holding it for 5 minutes. So we're holding that 90-degree angle for 5 minutes with 1 minute rest. My suggestion here is around 10% of your body weight per hand. So I'm 100 kilos, so that'd be 10 kilos per hand. Then we move to horizontal back extension. In this position here, we're looking for the body to stay completely horizontal, integrating the glutes, hamstrings, and lower back together. A lot of guys out there have what's called gluteal amnesia. And one of the leading experts in the world, Stuart McGill, talks about integrating these muscles together, and that's what we need for an explosive power, or a shoot for a single leg, or defend a single leg, or explosive kick. That posterior chain is very fundamental to our jumping, sprinting, or changing direction. We need those all to work together. And unfortunately, when you don't have a posterior chain muscle continuing that work together in a rehearsed and well distributed manner, you get tightness in the lower back, you get tight hamstrings, and then you get gluteal amnesia, or non-firing glutes, or deactivated glutes. We want these all to work together, and being able to do this exercise is one of my top exercises to bring down the risk of injury, maximize the amount of power. And we all know that if we have a strong back, it can translate into a lot of different movements, particularly in MMA. Then we follow on to a chest supported seated row, where we roll the dumbbells back with our chest supported. I do this chest supported because the lower back is fried from the first exercise. We hold that again for 5 minutes with a 1 minute break, and then we move on to our squat hold. So here's just some normal template that I would follow. And the reason being is, when it comes to interval training, and this is interval training, it's not high intensity interval training, because high intensity means high intensity, high effort, explosivity. This is an interval training protocol to elicit isometric tension on the muscular system to improve fitness, lactic acid buffering, recovery fast twitch fibers, and stress in the cardiovascular system with minimal to no pressure mechanically on the joint, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep our athletes, performing better, with optimal recovery, with the best stimulus for recovery. But the bigger hole we dig, the harder it is for an athlete to get out of it. So this system here allows you to change subtly the exercise order, but massively change the overall demand. So you have workout 1 to workout 4. And what we're doing is in the first workout, we're going A, B, C, D. The second time we do the workout, again, this only takes 25 minutes. We're starting with the second exercise. So instead of starting off on a shoulder press, we start off on a back extension. The next day we go into the gym, we start off on our bent over row. And the next day we go into the gym, we start off on our squat. So we're allowing the body to have a different level of fatigue and different level of performance through different sequencing of the exercises. Now, I wouldn't write a program of this. I wouldn't say a BCDA, because that's not the way you write a program. You write it in order of the prescription to exercise sequence, but just to illustrate how I'm changing the exercise force. Ian King talked a lot about the first exercise you do at the start of the week gets the most benefit. So in this program format, we're allowing every exercise the opportunity to be forced in the workout and to have that level of freshness, and then not always the last exercise you're breathing through your ears, you can't manage it. So here we have the sample program that I demonstrated already. So this is the seated dumbbell shoulder press, halfway position, around the eye level to ear level, holding that position around 90 degrees. As I mentioned, you're talking around 10% of body weight per hand and back supported. But again, there's other options that you can do. I like this first, and I put a heart rate monitor on my athletes when I do this, because I want to see what they're going up to in between the actual set itself, and then what they're dropping down in the 60-second recovery. And we're following the peripheral heart activation here. So our B exercise is our horizontal back extension, getting those glutes firing, getting that lower back firing, getting that body in a horizontal position. I like the fingertips here. So what I say to people is the hands are here, our hands are by your side, but they don't change position. That's where they are, because the arms are quite heavy. So if they start off here and move to the end, then you can't say that set was done in this manner. So start off with the manner your athlete can manage, and then as you can progress through, you can increase or put the hands out in front, whatever you may want to do. I've suggested 5 minutes as a goal, or 300 seconds, but you can start off less. You can start off at 3 minutes and the first workout, 3.5 minutes the next one, 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes to 5 minutes. You can progress with the athlete based off how many times they have to stop. You'll find this in the squat, they tend to stop a lot, but the more they get accustomed to this, the more they get exposed to the amount of lactate, they'll feel their fitness level, they feel their enzymatic and buffering capabilities, they feel their lactic acid generation and removal change dramatically. And that's what we're doing. Fitness is not just heart and lungs. It's the heart, the lungs, the muscular system, the enzymatic system, the contraction type, the percentage of load, the intensity of the workout, the rest, and the work. So we need to look at all these parameters when we put programs together. Next we have is the C exercise here. It's the chest supported row. So you see in this position here, James's elbows are up here. I'll give you a different angle here where the hands are in the supinated position. But the goal is that the elbows are up. We're trying to retract the rhomboids as much as we can and squeeze the latissimus dorsi. The lats are fundamental muscles when it comes to MMA, because of its involvement keeping the elbows in, shooting for underhooks, clinch work. The lats, their engagement, their endurance, their capability will really dictate whether somebody can defend or actually follow through with a takedown. It's fundamentally important, and chin-ups just don't do it. There has to be some isometric work. I've had the benefit of working with the Azerbaijan Olympic wrestling team now for 8 years. And what I've done is I've brought 9 athletes in there to actually win medals, and that's something that I'm very proud of. But when you train a wrestling athlete, whether it be freestyle or Greco-Roman wrestling, there's a lot of isometric work done. And then when someone's got a lot of fatigue from isometric work, then they find their explosivity or their hand movements can be compromised. So this allows us to, not mimic the demands of the sport, but to enhance the physical capabilities of our athletes so they can perform better when they do come to go do their sport. So I do believe you have to wrestle to improve your wrestling, but if I can improve someone's isometric, shoulder strength and lat strength, it can have a very good crossover. So when they are in that position, they have that ability to explode when need be. I like those dumbbells, the black box dumbbells. They're 2 inches thick and they spin. The functionality of the enhancement of the grip strength from a flexion, extension, radial deviation, ulnar deviation, pronation, supination point of view, I think it really enhances the effectiveness of grip strength, and it crosses over better, particularly MMA when you're grabbing an ankle or a hand. Finger strength and wrists are highly injured areas when it comes to MMA athletes. And in my book on strength and conditioning, I talk about you need to identify the common site of injury. injury. And the common site of injury of an MMA athlete may differ, but the UFC Performance Institute regularly put out research on where their athletes are getting the most injured. And from an S&C point of view, is we need to make sure that we're making those areas of highest amount of risk or potential risk, more robust and as bulletproof as possible to minimize the risk of injury. Now, obviously, getting a punch in the face, you're going to get certain lacerations and so on, but neck training in particular, I'm going to talk a lot about neck training in the next video and what we need to do. But if your neck isn't strong, you're in a position where it can be moved. And if your neck is forced in a bad position, whether you're on the ground or against the cage, you can't use the power of your body. Your cervical spine and its alignment can massively deactivate the potential power in your legs. If you've ever had a very strong crossface, or you've ever had your head in a position where it's not comfortable, it's very hard to allow movement to take place because of that neural stress and the alignment that the C-spine does. So we'll talk a bit about that. Next, we move on here to our squat. So we're looking at 90 degrees of a squat angle. James' hands are up, and we're trying to get as much lactic acid in those legs. So we are buffering that. So when we have our 1 minute break in the fight, we sit down, we get rid of that lactate, we get up, we're fresh, we're ready to go. So unfortunately, some fights will have different amount of physicality of them. Certain fights will have stand up and groundwork, and we all know the different positions that are in MMA. So by doing this muscular based adaptation training, it allows us that if it goes to that level of fatigue, if people do get to that level of lactate in the body, well, that's not uncommon for this athlete. This guy and girl has the ability to not only make less lactate than somebody else that's forced into that, but also has the capability of buffering it. Now, the strength coach in Australia, Dan Baker, he talks about level of fitness level. And if you have someone that's fitter, aerobically fitter than somebody else, and they can push a pace, someone that's not as fit needs to go anaerobic to maintain the same level as that person. So if you make an athlete very aerobically fit and muscularly fit and a lot of power, a lot of strength, and a lot of recovery, they can actually bully your opponent by making them push themselves to a level of anaerobic level to keep up with them. And then the clock starts. So the minute somebody becomes anaerobic, there's only a certain amount of time that they can sustain that. Now, a lot of decisions are made very explosively and fast. And when you're fatigued, that's when bad decisions get made. That's when, agility, coordination, speed are all compromised. So we have our guys and girls as fit as physically possible from a muscular point of view, from an MMA point of view, that they don't have to go to that level, sparring. So I don't necessarily want my guys to be pushed to the level of muscular fatigue sparring. Sparring should be a technical component. But in a fight, we need to make sure our body has the physical capabilities to be able to exert the power that they have multiple times throughout the whole fight. It's not just a one-hit wonder. We want our guys to be as fit and as strong at the start of the round as they would be at the end of the round, and recover optimally and maximally during the rest of the interval. Now, having said that, no one's ever going to be as fresh in the 5th round as they were in the 4th round. But if we condition the batteries and the recovery capabilities, we can enhance that. I like to think of my phone as an example. My phone goes dead. If I had 4 charges to plug into it rather than 1, I'm going to recharge it much better. So if I've conditioned my athlete to have that fast recovery, if I've conditioned my athlete's muscular system to be able to buffer the lactic acid, to get new blood flow in, to get waste products in, to oxygenate the body, to bring the heart rate back down and get the central nervous system ready to go again, well, that's half the battle. So again, the technical component comes in. But for us, what we're trying to do is enhance the physical capabilities of our athletes so we can hopefully enhance their performance in the cage and allow that their enhanced fitness and endurance to be able to do the tasks that they can do. It won't necessarily make them any more explosive, but they'll be able to go back to their top level explosivity much faster than some that didn't have the same recovery capabilities. So hopefully you're understanding where I'm going with this now, and that we understand that we're trying to improve the intramuscular carnosine, which is a lactic acid buffer. We're trying to improve the vasodilation of those small capillaries into the muscle. We're trying to not only enhance the slow twitch fiber, oxidative capacity, but we're also trying to improve the associated fast twitch fibers that are in the same area. As we know, fast twitch muscle fibers store their energy inside the cell itself. So they store the creatine and the glycogen there on site. Where slow twitch muscle fibers require more in delivery, but by us enhancing our delivery capabilities, we have a knock-on effect to hopefully enhance the capabilities of our fast-twitch muscle fibers, who can get donated glycogen from our liver and so on. But having that, well-oiled machine, having that muscles and having the nervous system stimulated to that level will upregulate the enzymatic function, upregulate the adaptation, and allow the athlete to be accustomed to this new level of stress and recover better from it. And if you've ever gone and done any wrestling drills, or isometric drills, and your arms are hanging off you. You can't throw a punch, you can't throw a kick. So by knowing that there's different muscular demands placed on the athletes, we can enhance this capability in the gym, in the weight room, but at the same time, bringing down the amount of volume that they do and the mechanical load. In my opinion, MMA guys are great to have in the gym and they like to train hard. However, if you do train them really hard, you will have delayed onset muscle soreness. Muscle soreness can impair technical workouts, can impair the technical sparring, and then it can compromise performance. Making an athlete good in a weight room, particularly an MMA athlete, makes no sense. We want to build better athletes to perform in the cage better. So doing a lot of squats and bench, and I understand that that's where the strength and conditioning world is, and if all you have is a hammer, everything is a nail. But we need to understand that we're trying to elicit an exercise prescription for a certain adaptation. I want this guy to be able to be faster, recover faster, have more lactic acid tolerance, get his heart rate down faster, improve his ability to go from on the ground to standing. So we're changing the exercise sequence, the stimulus. We're trying to work his body weight rather than lifting super heavy loads. And there's always a benefit to safety ratio. So I see a lot of exercises that may have a lot of benefit, but they have equally a lot of risk factors. I'm not going to do it. I'm picking the exercises that elicit the adaptation I want, but without putting the risk of injury in for the athlete, and taking into consideration that the strength and conditioning is one aspect of a multidisciplinary approach to the peaking of an MMA athlete. We need to take into consideration jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and wrestling and so on. And maybe they're niggling with injuries, and maybe that they're doing a weight cut at the same time. So we call this a general physical preparation, or a GPP. This is one block of it. And knowing what your athlete's physical demands are and where we need to focus on. For me, I prefer my athletes to be super explosive and have the right level of fitness. But if someone isn't explosive, then I'll work on their fitness, because it's very easy. No, that's the wrong word. It's easier to get someone fitter than it is to get someone stronger. And if you've got a short window base, you can definitely get someone fit in 6 weeks. You can't necessarily get somebody strong in 6 weeks. So my goal would be to work on strength and explosivity away from competition. And then as competition ties down, we peak that up, and then we get them to recover so they can replicate that level of explosivity throughout the whole fight. So let's go through a little bit more. So this ISO circuit is something that I talk a lot about in my modified strongman training certification. Now, I've been blessed enough to travel the world teaching the coaches all over the world, from different levels of ice hockey to rugby to soccer to cyclists to triathletes. But MMA is my passion, it's my love, and I use a lot of strongman training. And the reason why you do a lot of strongman training is the crossover and transfer into the cage I found to be phenomenal. Now, I've made a lot of mistakes coming from a cardiovascular background in college. We'd be doing VO2 maxes and running and rowing and so on. And I understand that's a specific application for a specific athlete, but an MMA athlete is very different. And when we're looking to improve adaptations that have a more of a faster crossover to the sport itself, we need to take into consideration the muscle relationship, the position relationship, the contraction relationship, the nutrient depend, the nutrient deficit, the nutrient requirements, so whether it be glycogen, creatine, oxygen, and so on. So we need to know that, and understanding programming, corrective exercise, and how to coach people in conjunction with this modified strongman training course. It can really allow you, whether it's MMA guys or any and rugby people or whatever groups, it's a very unique tool that you can implement into practice the next day. So in this program, there's actually 6 courses. One is on program design, which is free, corrective exercise, and a group training. They're all included. Then the 4th course is actually the strongman training certification. The 5th course is a live course. When we do open, you'll be invited here live to go through a whole strongman training. We go through all the exercise technique on top of the videos that are part of the certification. And then we have an ongoing coaching community where you can fire off questions to that. So that's actually live now at the moment. And if you have questions that I'm covering here that you're not familiar with, please check out the website, onlyaceducation.com, and you see this certification. I'm so proud of it. It's probably the best course I've ever put out there. And the reason being is I'm always focused about giving quality information. And so for me, I'm able to give this course out there, and then, you know what, add all these other courses on for free, because it enhances the learning experience. So when you finish this course, whether you're training executives, MMA guys, rugby girls, whatever it may be, is you're going to have the tools and knowledge to adapt the training systems, the programs, and the principles to suit your clients to get results in your business. And that's what my goal is for that certification. So definitely check it out. Now, we've talked a little bit about the simple system. Now let's get a bit more in depth. So now what we have is the peripheral heart activation, where we're changing the exercise orientation. Now we have the upper body focus one. So the upper body focus one is where the first A and B exercise are upper body. And what I would do is I would do a lat pull down, pull it down to roughly underneath the nose and hold that position. You can change the positions. I like the mag grip attachments where they can have like a semi-supinated position, easy on the hand, and we can squeeze it back down there. Very nice grips called the mag grips are very good. And then the standing dumbbell press. And what I would do is, instead of like at the previous program, we went A, B, C, D, then B, C, D, A. Here, I'd always keep those two together. So it's either these two, lat pull down first, and then shoulder press, or shoulder press and lat pull down, but they always stay forced. Upper body focus program is where the first two exercises must be upper body. Then the second two exercises is a 45-degree back extension and then a split squat. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to hit the body at different angles. And as you understand strength curves, if you stimulate the muscular system in any way, shape, or form, eccentric, isometric, or concentric, at different strength curves, it allows a faster and more comprehensive adaptation of the muscular system because we're hitting the tendons, the ligaments in the muscular system at different points of stress in relation to certain exercises. So by doing a horizontal back extension in comparison to doing a reverse hyper, in comparison to do a 45-degree back extension, in comparison to doing a glute bridge, all hit the target muscles or the agonist or the focus prime mover in a different specificity of contraction. And that specificity of contraction, we want it to be multi-diverse because MMA is multi-diverse. We're not going in there and lifting a straight bar off the ground. It's not that straightforward manner. The multitude of positions, legs are split, you're on your back, you're on your side, you're against the cage, your neck is down, your head is up. You're going to be in loads of different positions. And by picking exercises that elicit different aspects of the strength curves, allows a faster and more unified and whole continuum of adaptation into the cage itself. Now, the last exercise there is our split squat. So we follow the same system, A, B, C, D. Only difference here is first two will always be upper body. We can change them around. Last two are always lower body. They can be changed around. It doesn't matter. The split squat here is where you split squat on the ground, one leg out in front, drop the back knee down. Try to get that about 2 inches off the ground. Hold one side for 150 seconds, the opposite side for 150 seconds. My suggestion there would be to do your non-dominant leg first. But the lactic acid in your quads and glutes. Now, depending on what you're trying to talk when it comes to knee mechanics and ankle mechanics, for me, I like the knee to be closed, particularly for wrestlers. That's a position they shoot in particular. But at least 90-90 will be where it'll be to start off with. And then in later course, we can talk about the knee angle, the tibial translation, the Achilles tendon position. And also, I would strongly suggest that your athletes do this in bare feet, particularly MMA guys. So that was a program structure for our upper body focus. This is our lower body focus. Imagine that. It's going to be lower body. The first two exercises are going to be lower body. BFE stands for back foot elevated. So I have a black box roller that I put up. It's about between 12 to 20 inches off the ground. You can change it depending on your athlete's height. One leg is behind. Again, the back knee is lower down. I like it as close to the ground as possible, but depending on the flexibility of your athlete. But the weight should be on the front leg. The back leg, I'm trying to take a bit of pressure off that. We hold one side for 150 seconds, the opposite side for 150 seconds, and we rest our minute, exact same. And then we do our banded hip bridge. So with our banded hip bridge, with two dumbbells either side, we have a green band maybe across the side, and we put it across your waist. So you get in underneath it, dumbbell, band across, hands across the chest, and hip bridge. So the green band will be like a belt where you're pushing your belt buckle towards the ceiling, engaging those glutes, engaging the lower back, engaging the hamstrings, feet flat on the ground. Me and Dr. Serrano were big fans of maybe going your toes, heels, toes in, toes out, but that's a talk for another day. The goal is to get the glute bridge activated, in particular in that isometric top position. Now, we all know that the bridge is a very powerful movement when it comes to jiu-jitsu and grappling to get that space, but we need these all to move together. That's why we've done 1 week, we've done a horizontal, or a couple of weeks doing a horizontal. Then we've gone and done a 45-degree. Now we're doing our different activations. So we see that we're getting a posterior chain, which is fundamental for throwing, jumping, changing direction. That lower back, that whole continuum posterior chain, we want to be solid. We want that to be engaged in the movement so that we're robust as possible to prevent injuries, but we're solid, and we can transfer that force from the legs to the arms, and we need a strong core and posterior chain for that to happen. Then we moved on to our inverted row. You've seen that before. You grab onto a bar, you invert your row yourself up, feet on the ground, feet on the box, the feet go higher. The higher the feet go, the harder it is. The more the feet on the ground, the easier it is. You pull your chest up to the bar and hold that position. Sometimes I let people use chalk and sometimes I use wraps just to get that contraction up at the top. And I don't use a tick grip for that one. That's probably the only one that I don't. You can also use that with a TRX as well. That's also an option. And the last one here is your 45-degree dumbbell shoulder press. I'm not a big fan of doing barbell work for athletes when it comes to pressing. I think the scapular thoracic articulation and the scapular human rhythm needs more free range of motion. And I don't like a lot of benching for guys. I do some dips. That's something that I do. But dumbbell pressing 75 degrees works in those anterior deltoids, works in that triceps, works in that chest, in those fibers, clavicular fibers, particularly that has to lend itself over to people having their hands up, and again, improving that endurance capability of the upper body. So fairly straightforward. The upper body focus, the first two will always be upper body. The lower body focus, the first two will always be lower body, and you can swap them around, and we'll follow that through the whole week. All right. So now let's look at what normal periodization template would look like. So we've seen this already. Week 1, workout 1, workout 2, workout 3, workout 4. Because these workouts only take 25 minutes, I'd add them in at the end of a grappling session. I'd add them in at the end of a boxing session, depending on the heart rate training or the amount of volume done in the workout. If it wasn't a volume, it was a more technical session, that's when I would definitely put it in. Or if they train in the morning, there's something they could do at night time and do some stretching and so on to relax afterwards. But it's not a long amount of volume. It digs a less of a hole from a hormonal point of view and from a stress point of view. But the recovery, I cannot stress this enough, guys. You will get better from workout to workout once you follow the system. So workout 1, A, B, C, D, and then as we go through it, we start with different exercises. We've covered that. Then we go to workout 5. This is the second week. So that's first week, Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever it is. I don't like to do any more than 2 in a row as my normal recommendation. Here we pick 4 new exercises. Do the same thing. Workout 5 to workout 8. Do the same thing. We just change the sequence of exercises. So for the first week, 1 set of exercises, change this first movement we did. The next week, we do 4 different exercises. We change it again. Very simple, and that's a 2-week block. Your guys may have gone from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and they will feel phenomenal. They don't feel sore, no aches, no pains, but they will feel that they've worked. They feel that lactic acid, and you'll see this. You'll see this with their heart rate. That's why it's important to wear a heart rate monitor throughout this, so you can get real-life feedback and make coaching decisions in real life, that you're not just sending the program off. If they do it at home, make sure they take a screenshot and send it on to you so you can see the peaks and troughs, how much they were coming down in each individual recovery session and which exercises and in which orders peaked the most. This is the periodization template 2. This is a little bit different. So the workout 1 to 4. So this is week 1 that we're doing ABCD, the peripheral heart activation, which we've covered. Then the second week, we're going to do upper body focus. So all new exercises, and the first 2 exercises will always be upper body, and we can switch that around during the week. So the first week, it could be A and B, and the second session that week could be B and A, and then so on. But then always 2 upper body movements. The third week, we've gone up completely lower body focus. So now we're doing the first 2 exercises as lower body focus, because maybe that's what an aspect of the athlete needs, or maybe we have a long enough time frame that we can do this. And then the fourth week here, workout 13 to 16, we change it completely. We go A1 to A4, and what we're doing is we're doing each station for 75 seconds. New exercises, they do 75 seconds, 75 seconds, 75 seconds, 75 seconds, minute break, do it 4 times. And what we're doing here, this is a completely different demand. Now, this is where we can start to put load. We can actually hold the plate across the body. Maybe we can go heavier with the dumbbells. Maybe we could even add in a chin up in this variation. There's loads of different options you can do in this. We could add some core work in if we wanted for holes. But we can see that we're still doing the same thing from an enzymatic, isometric point of view, but we're allowing that intensity to increase a little bit more. Now, this is 4 weeks of training. This is 4 sessions a week for 4 weeks. We have a whole breakdown there. Your athlete will not know himself. The volume reduction that you would have to do being outside running or being on a bike or on a rower, this is far less demanding mechanically on the body, but far superior from a metabolic, an enzymatic, and a cardiovascular standpoint. So you can see the angles I'm going with this. Now, I wanted to go off and talk a little bit about explosive power, but we're focusing more on fitness, recovery, and performance. We will talk about more explosive power. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do another webinar. Hopefully, I won't make a mess of it like I did today, but we'll do another one in 2 weeks' time. We'll do it on the 3rd of April. So again, if you're interested, I'll put the link. It will be live now in my Instagram link. You see it there, just click into it and you can sign up for it, and I'll make sure that you get the recordings, and hopefully you can join me live for that one. A few things that I think coaches should look into moving forward. These are components that I've been using, and they've been very beneficial. The training mask, has its place for the right person at the right time, can be used very effectively. I've again been fortunate enough to work with wrestlers, and we've had altitude training centers, and I've seen their bloods over an 8-year cycle, and I've seen how it can be really complemented. Now, the training mass won't necessarily mimic altitude training, but for the right athlete in the right phase of training, it can be a very useful tool. Next one here is a train with push. A train with push is a device you can put on your arm or you can put on a barbell to see the velocity of the movement of the bar. And it's very good to show you whether the speed of the movement is going down and the right weight, the right speed ratio, or how you assess an athlete's fatigue levels. Because a lot of guys are doing plyometric and explosive movements, but they're not that explosive. They're doing it under fatigue state. And that's okay. You can train someone in a fatigue state, but if pure power is your goal, well, then I would say use a device like this so you can start to get some feedback in on how to structure certain programs, sequence the exercises, and obviously the recovery for that person. Someone might feel that they can go again, but the central nervous system a lot of times is not recovered optimally enough. This is the device called a D-Pulse, and this D-Pulse device not only tracks your heart rate, motion sensor, muscle activation. It has a system called NMES, which is neuromuscular electrical stimulation. So later down the line, guys, you're going to see these things getting more and more integrated into the strength and conditioning. I find sometimes S&C coaches are focused on one type of aspect, where we have to be open-minded and have a growth mindset to take the technologies that are advancing, see if they enhance or they hinder, and then make a professional decision based on that. But these are 3 things that I think have had some great results for me. Training mask, people used to look at it funny, but now nearly everyone's wearing a mask in the gym anyway. So I do hope that you found this information useful. My goal is, and if you've ever been to any of my seminars, my goal is to give quality information so you guys, the coaches, the athletes, can use it and get a benefit from it. And the benefit now of having an online course is that I can give you the course, which is the Certified Strongman Training course, in conjunction with the 5 other courses around it at no additional fee, because it's just all there and just enhances the learning experience and allows you then to have the skill set to adapt these programs, these principles into your business in the way that you need it, in the way your clients need it, in the way your athletes need it, rather than you just following my programs. Don't do that. Take the information, adapt it, modify it, and suit it towards you. At the end of the day, this is for you. This is for your business. This is for your team. And one of the things I would say is that I didn't do in the past, building a team of coaches, building a network of coaches is fundamental to your success. So rather than being closed-minded, let's be open-minded, let's liaise with each other, and that's why the coaching community is there. So if you do have questions, whether it be an MMA athlete or a swimmer or a triathlete, or, if it's whatever it is, please reach out. And in that coaches community, now that you've gone through the certification, it means that we can speak a different language. We can talk about programming in a different way, and hopefully you like the value of the course. Check out the 90-second video online that you can watch, and the 50-minute presentation about the stuff that's in the Strongman Training course. And till the end of this month, there's a 75% reduction on the price of the course. So hopefully that's push you over the edge to sign up. So other than that, guys, thank you so much for your attention. I apologize that there was an issue with the recording and activating it live, but it's done now again. So hopefully you have the content that you can use. Please, if you can, I joined up to social media last September, on my 40th birthday. Imagine that. So again, I'm relatively new to the social media world. So if you could like and share and take a screenshot or whatever it is and post it and tag on Lacey Education, be much appreciated. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your Saturday to watch this, or whenever you're watching it, and have a nice weekend.